On to the second side of the radical equations worksheet, part 1, which is also under radical equations easy under the equations section on the KutaSoftware free worksheets infinite algebra 1. So we need to isolate this radical so that we can square both sides. So for number 13, we have to subtract by 10 at the very start. Doing this will leave us with the square root of 10m minus 1 on the left, and 13 minus 10 leaves us with 3 on the right. Then it's as simple as squaring both sides to give us that 10m minus 1 on the left is equal to 3 squared, which is 9 on the right. The reason we square is because the square essentially counteracts or cancels out that square root. Let me go ahead and show you an example real quick. We know that the square root of 25 equals 5. That's because 5 times 5 gives us 25. If we were to start by squaring the left-hand side, whatever we do to the left, we also have to do to the right. When we square this, the square root and the squared will result in just having what's underneath the radical. So that will be 25 equals 5 times 5 is 25. So essentially when you square a radical, you're left with what's underneath that radical, or what's within it. So that's how when we squared the square root of 10m minus 1, we get 10m minus 1, and that's going to be equal to 9. Now we're going to add 1 to both sides, so we're left with 10m equaling 10. Then it's just a matter of solving this equation. Divide by 10, and you'll get 10m divided by 10 is m, and 10 divided by 10 is 1. So m is equal to 1 for number 13. Number 14, what we need to do is divide by that negative 6 at the start in order to isolate the radical. When we divide by negative 6, on the left-hand side, we'll get a positive 2, and on the right-hand side, we'll get just the square root of b plus 4. Now we can go ahead and square both sides. 2 squared gives us 4, and we'll be left with b plus 4 on the right-hand side. Subtract by 4, and we'll get that 0 is equal to b. Number 15, the square root of v plus 3 minus 1 equals 7. We're going to start by adding 1 to both sides to get the radical by itself. So the square root of v plus 3 is going to be equal to 7 plus 1, which is 8. Now we can go ahead and square both sides. That'll leave us with v plus 3 on the left and a 64 on the right. When we subtract by 3 on both sides, we get that v is equal to a positive 61 for number 15. Number 16, 90 equals 9 times the square root of 25v. Start by dividing by 9. We'll have 10 equal to the square root of 25v. Now when we square both sides, we get that 100 equals 25v. Divide by 25 on both sides, and we'll have 4 equal to v. So that variable v is the value 4. So for number 17, we have the square root of 3n equal to the square root of 4n minus 1. We're going to start by squaring both sides. When we do that, we're going to cancel out or counteract each radical. So the square root of 3n squared will be 3n, and the square root of 4n minus 1 squared will be 4n minus 1. Now we're going to solve this equation. Let's do that by moving the 4n over to the other side, so that we can combine the like terms on the left and have whole values left on the right. 3n minus 4n is going to be negative 1n, and that's going to be equal to negative 1. Then when we divide by that negative 1, we get that n is equal to a positive 1. So for number 17, n is a positive 1. On to number 18. the square root of 2n minus 88 equals the square root of n divided by 6. Start by squaring both sides. When we square the square root of 2n minus 88, that leaves us with 2n minus 88. When we square the square root of n over 6, that leaves us with n divided by 6. Then this is simply a multi-step equation. We're going to multiply both sides by 6 over 1, and we'll get that 12n when we distribute, minus 6 times 88 is 528, and that's going to be equal to n. Let's go ahead and subtract 12n on both sides. So we'll have negative 528 equal to a negative 11n. Then we're going to divide by negative 11 on both sides. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 528 divided by 11 will give us 48. So 48 equals n for number 18. And on to the last problem in this video, number 19. In the next video, we'll go ahead and finish out the worksheet, but before we do number 19, please remember to like this video and any other videos that you find helpful, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. So for 19, we have the square root of x divided by 10 equal to the square root of 3x minus 58. We're going to start by squaring both sides. That'll leave us with x over 10 on the left-hand side and 3x minus 58 on the right. We're going to multiply by 10 over 1 on both sides. We'll have x on the left, and that's going to be equal to 30x minus 580 after we distribute this 10. Now I'm going to subtract a 30x from both sides. On the left-hand side, we'll have a negative 29x, and on the right-hand side, we'll be left with that negative 580. Now we have to divide by negative 29. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So when we do negative 580 divided by negative 29, we're going to get a positive 20 for our variable x. So x is equal to 20 for number 19. In the next video, we'll do numbers 20 through 26 and finish out this worksheet.